What's up, Tweeners? Welcome back to another Tweener Attendance video today here on the channel. And today we have a very special interview for you guys. We have Karue, Naomi Osaka's hitting partner, also former UCLA Bruin. Had I believe, a UTR as high as almost a 15, maybe even past that. Very excited to have him on the channel because his YouTube channel has been blowing up. My Tennis HQ going from probably like 1,000 to 30,000 in less than a year. And this guy is unbelievable. Such a great personality, such a great coaching mentor as well. So I'm very glad to bring him here to the channel. But before we do anything, we're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We are so close. We are literally less than 100 people away to getting to the 2K mark. So every sub helps. Make sure to hit smash. I would never say that, but smash that subscribe button with notifications turned on. So that way you don't miss any new videos that we're posting here on the channel. And enjoy the interview, guys. Also, I forgot to mention that the giant square on my face is because I used my camera to live stream using Zoom for the first time. And yes, that will be there the entire interview. So I do apologize if that bothers you. For the next one, it will not be there. I promise you. Thank you guys for enjoying the video. Also subscribe. Well, Karue, thank you so much for joining me today. This is a really special occasion, I guess, because you, of all people, with 10,000 followers on Instagram, over 30,000 now on YouTube, almost at 32, I should say, and just another big guy, big personality, just unbelievable talent here on the channel today. Thank you so much for joining me today, Karue.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I think, it's weird to like think yourself as almost like an influencer. I guess that's where you got to say these days. So, it's just one of those things, but that's where I think a lot of online instruction is heading, not just in tennis. And, we saw an opportunity there, and, it's been really fun. It's been a cool journey in this past year, a little over a year that we've been doing this.
And it's amazing the impact that you've made, not only on Instagram, but on YouTube as well, kind of showing not just from instructional videos. You've done first person hits. You've done hits with Osaka that you've posted on your channel. You've done a variety of stuff. And to kind of start off with more of life off the court, how did you get into tennis, and how did you end up in this world per se?
I mean, I'm from a small town in Brazil. My dad sort of like grew up playing tennis, or picked it up when he was like a teenager. And just your classic, kid goes with the dad to the court while he's playing. You're just sort of whacking balls, against the wall and stuff like that. And that was it. Just sort of playing around. I was always like really into sports. I think like I played a lot of sports growing up. So tennis was a big part of it. I started fairly early, around like five or six, and taking lessons probably by 7, by 8, competing and stuff like that. So everything happened really quickly. I became pretty good in my state from an early age, and it just sort of snowballs into continue to play and continue to train and everything. So but yeah, just your classic kind of story. How do you pick it up with this, with your parents playing, going to tournaments with my dad and stuff like that. Nothing just like amateur stuff. He wasn't a pro, but just having a good time, and you just sort of pick it up.
And it's amazing because for a junior like yourself, you went to all 4 junior Grand Slams, correct? Or did you go to
I didn't play Wimbledon. My ranking, I was in the qualies at the time. My coach didn't want us to go to qualies and just play other tournaments. But I played Australia, French, and US Open main draws. So yeah, I did all the junior stuff, playing all over the world, the ITF and all that.
And the juniors, you reached, I believe it was a high of 33, correct?
Yeah, I think it was 33. Yeah, it was, I had a fairly solid career in juniors, and, I think I made semis of the Orange Bowl in the 16s, and that sort of gave me a lot of confidence going into the 18s. I think I finished that year, the 16th year, like number 1 in Brazil, and got confidence, got going in the 18s. And, it's a difficult, the ITFs is difficult, the best players in the world. And, I had a few good results in South America, and I beat a few good players in bigger tournaments. But yeah, it's almost like your rehearsal to life on tour.
Yeah.
You're traveling everywhere. Sometimes it's difficult. You go 3 weeks and you lose first round 3 weeks in a row, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, what am I doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember having that happen to me when I was doing this clay court swing before the French, and I was like, I lost like 3 tournaments in a row, and then I got to the French and I qualified, and I was like, oh, it kind of saved the trip,
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just like, what a waste of time. So it was really good experience, the ITFs. It's obviously difficult with the traveling and costly but at the time Brazil had a lot of support, so the juniors were getting a lot of support, so it just worked out that way. But it was fun. It was juniors was a good time.
And it's you who had success in the juniors. It's something very interesting to see someone that had the talent that you have and still have that talent to this day, is that you didn't immediately go pro and you went to UCLA, where you had an unbelievable career, if I might add. It's what made you have that decision to go to college in the US versus just going straight to the tour?
Honestly, at the time, I think my second year of 18s, my last year of juniors, I did not do as well as I thought I should have. I started competing. Brazil had a lot of futures back then. We had like this, again, we had the federation had a lot of money for a little while, and we had a lot of futures. So I started playing a few futures and, not really doing as well. I just, looking back, mentally I wasn't there. I didn't really know what was happening at the time, but like, I was just not like, I was like, this is not what I want to do right now. I was a little bit, to be honest, a little bit burned out from I was training in the same spot for like 8 years at that point, just kind of burned out with, I needed a change of scenery. And college was always like it wasn't something like, oh, maybe I'll just go to college. It was like always sort of like in the back of my mind. So, I just sat down with my coach. He actually was #1 in the world juniors, and he went to Georgia for a year, and he loved it. And he was like, just go to college. Like, it's going to be perfect for you. So, just made that decision and kind of, to be honest, took like some time off, like, was practicing a little bit, but didn't play a lot of tournaments until I got to UCLA. So I think very few people are ready to play pros at 18s. Like, you have to be like so far above the curve to make an impact early. I think these days, with the way the tour has gone, 22 once you finish college is like, you're so young. You haven't missed any, you're not even close to your prime at 22. So I was like, why do this for 4 years, 18s? I remember like leaving college, not playing for a year, and then started playing pros, and within like 7 months I was like ranked ahead of a lot of the peers that guys that I grew up with in Brazil that went pro. And I was like, well, you guys have been doing this for 5 years, 6 years at this point. And I already got my degree, and I kind of have that in the back pocket, and so I had a little more freedom while I was playing. So I just find it to be like, for 98% of people, like that, like, it's the route. Even if it's 2 years, a year, whatever it is, I think like you grow a lot and you learn a lot. So college, it was awesome, and it was like probably my best decision in my tennis career.
Would you have changed anything in your decision making between college and pro, or do you have anything that you kind of thought about and looked back on and said, maybe I could have done that differently?
Not in the decision making. Like, I ended up at UCLA sort of like a little bit like luckily that I got there. Even making the lineup that first year was really tough. A tough team to make the lineup, and one guy got injured right before the season. I jumped in and went on like a 15-match winning streak and never left the lineup. So I wouldn't change anything about that decision. I think I loved UCLA. I think most people that go to college have a great experience regardless of where they go. So I can't say like, UCLA was much better experience. I think everyone has a great experience wherever they go, if you have the right mindset for it. In terms of, I think my time in college, I had a great career, but I did, like I said, I was a little bit burned out. So I feel like I kind of coasted a little bit in terms of like, you know, how much I you know, I was putting in the work, but I wasn't like so focused on the pros. I was so like, I love the team and I love that. So I didn't do much during the summers and all that stuff. So I think looking back, you know, looking at where I, you know, how I did well in my pro career and short term career, but I, you know, if I had put in that little extra work, I think like during the summer and all that stuff, I think that's what I would have changed. But I think just at the time, I just needed that. I needed the time off during the summers and, you know, sort of like working on myself as a person less than as a player, because that's what you sort of did in your entire life. So at one point, you just kind of like over it a little bit.
You're so alone half the time that you're just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm here. It's
and then the team changes that so dramatically that it's like, you know, you want to put into work as a team, but not as much as an individual. At least that was in my that was in my head at the time. So but wouldn't change anything. I loved UCLA. I loved everything about, you know, my experience there. We had, you know, great teams, great teammates. You know, my best friends are, you know, UCLA teammates or, you know, people that I met there. So it was an awesome experience.
I think talking about this UCLA experience, I actually was asking some pros, I believe it was in Charleston. I was asking them the same question when it came to playing the perfect match or perfect tennis. And I wanted to kind of get your coaching insight on it too, because do you think you ever played a perfect match at UCLA? Or do you ever think you played the best of your ability, like everything went your way during a college match when you were there?
Oh, no, not at all. I like, you know, I just, at this point, like, you know, as someone who's been, you know, now working tennis and all that, I don't like perfection is just, it's such an unachievable thing. Like in a match, like you might get out of the court, like you win 1-1 and a guy that maybe like, you know, was around your level, they're like, you know, it's gonna be a tough match, but you're still gonna think like, oh, I know I didn't hit, you know, my wide serve as well today. I didn't, like, there's never gonna be like, you know, everything it's put together perfectly. And in college, you know, I tell kids that, you know, are aspiring to be in college, and like, dude, like college is not about who's like hitting the ball well. It's like there's so many guys who are tricky that probably don't even have a chance at making it in pros, to be honest, but they are so good in college because they fight hard, they compete hard, they sort of stick to their game plan, and they have their identity as a player, and they're like, this is who I'm going to be, and you have to figure out how to beat me. And I think in college, like I you know, at least myself, like I did that well. Like you know, I had holes in my game. My serve wasn't great. My forehand wasn't great pretty much until like my senior year, to be honest. Like wasn't really a weapon. It was fine.
Yeah.
But I had to, you know, figure out how to be players using other, you know, my backhand speed, just tennis IQ, like, you know, however you want to phrase it. So I think the more you can develop that skill, it's like I can win even if things are not working as well. That's where you're actually like in the money, where compared to like, oh, I'm just gonna look for perfection, just like want to hit a bunch of winners. It doesn't work that way. And I don't think it works that way in literally any level, to be honest. It's always a battle between like kind of you and yourself and your game, and figuring out what you got, what you don't have that day, and, you know, roll with it.
And what would you say is your coaching philosophy, or what is the first thing you say to kids that you're teaching, whether it's on more of a junior level or more a high performance level? What's the one piece of advice that you would give them? I know you've been doing a lot of instruction videos on Tennis HQ, so I wanted to know what's that first piece of advice that you would give someone as a coach?
I think what I've noticed recently a lot with you know, juniors especially, I do think there is a lack of emphasis on like footwork and using their bodies more during their gameplay. I see this is a sort of recurring theme
Gotcha.
with players, that I need to like always spend more time that I thought I would in that.
Mhm.
So I for most players, I do believe that, you know, if you can become very efficient with your footwork, tennis becomes a lot easier, a lot slower, because
Mhm.
tennis is a time
Yeah.
pressure sport. So the more efficient you can be with your feet, I think the easier it can be, because it doesn't matter how good of stroke you have, if you're just not in the right place, if you're not
Mhm.
in the right spacing, you're just not going to be able to execute your shot, no matter how perfect it is. So
Mhm.
I do that a lot. You know, as we talked about the perfection, I don't, you know, I don't believe in it. I don't think that's something you should strive for. I think, like, if anything, I focus less on the tennis. I do focus a lot on footwork and a lot of, like, you know, the mental side of it. Like, you have to be like gritty, you have to want it, you have to like the competition. I think I see a lot of players who struggle with competition. They train really well but struggle with competition. That's something that
Mhm.
you know, I'm having to learn myself how to navigate it as a, you know, someone who's like trying to teach them. It's difficult, because, you know, some people just have that competition in them, like love it, and some people don't. But in terms of like gameplay, just the last thing, it's like I focus mostly on depth. I
Okay.
don't work too much on power. I don't work too much on, I think each person has their own like shot shape and all those things. Like, you don't want to like put people in a box, like play the way you want to play.
Yeah.
Um, I can like sort of guide you where you want to be,
Mhm.
you know, where you can do better or not. But like depth is number one, like, thing for me. It's like, play deep. Don't allow yourself to play short more than once, because, you know, if you're playing at a high level, that's not
Yeah.
going to fly. And just in general, make sure you're consistently making good decisions to keep the ball deep, because if you're giving court position, then you're going to be running, it's on the other person's racket. So
Yeah.
depth is kind of the number one thing for me, especially more like, you know, junior level. I think at the
Mhm.
pros, obviously, like, it's super important. You know,
Yes.
they work with Naomi, but their skill level is so much higher. You can experiment and stuff, and, you know, depth, it almost becomes like, if you're hitting the ball well, the ball is going deep as a pro. So
Yeah.
but in the junior level, it can be a little overlooked. So that's been like mostly my focus, to be honest, in the past like year, I'd say.
Oh, very nice. I like
Yeah.
that because one thing, well, personally, from what I've been learning when I'm getting back into this training regimen, is that my coach said, if you don't like footwork, you don't like tennis, and
Yeah.
I think that's 100% true in my mind. And for you, I wanted to kind of transition into that tennis HQ part of it with, how did you come up with this idea and what made you want to start it? Because it's blown up within the first
Yeah.
year that you've been doing
Yeah.
this. So tell us a little bit more about that, the YouTube channel, and your partner. I believe you do it with someone else, correct?
Yeah. So the idea was actually his. So my partner, his name is Guilherme Hadlich. He
Mhm.
played at Pepperdine. He was a really
Okay.
good player at Pepperdine, good junior. Played some pros before he went to Pepperdine. He
Hmm.
played mostly like number one, number two at Pepperdine for his college career. And he, I want to say, like, when was it? We're in July 2021, like late 2019.
Hmm.
He actually reached out to me and was like, hey, like, I have this idea. Like, he sort of like self-taught how to like build websites,
Oh wow.
you know, and be able to, like, you know, do the SEO stuff and Google search and all that stuff. And I was like,
Hmm.
he was like, oh, want to do like a tennis website where, you know, it's just, you know, if you actually Google things, like, our article pops up. And I was like, oh, that'll be cool. So, you know, we have like, our website's not a news website; it's more of an information website. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, some of our articles that have been blowing up recently. It's like, oh, how do tennis players qualify for Grand Slams? How
Yeah.
do tennis players earn prize money, or what stuff like that? So I
Exactly.
was like, oh, this is awesome. Let's do it. There's, you know, it just requires a little bit of time. So
Oh
we
yeah.
started that, and after a little while, we just sort of realized, you know, obviously tennis is very visual, and I was like, I think we both sort of decided, like, I think a YouTube channel like is gonna couple really well. You know, have both things that can we can like kind of tag it.
Hmm.
And you know, I for a couple of years after school, I sort of got into like photography, videography, and you know, I sort of self-taught that part of it, just you know, for fun. I liked it. So it just, you know, I was like, oh, you know, I already have that skill. I obviously have the tennis skill. I can just combine it and see where it goes. And that was kind of it. And I was like, I started it. I obviously we realized that one, because I mean, you know, with Naomi and you know, just my level and who I can practice with, like the you know, I'm around a tier of players that and coaches that, you know, I think a lot of the YouTube coaches or YouTube channels these days are not. So it's like it could be a little unique. And I was like, oh, you know, we can. I think we can do something that is a little bit different. That is not necessarily just your kind of like country club coach, you know, doing his like lesson on camera, like most YouTube channels are. I think we could have done something different, and I think he blew up. Obviously, being with Naomi and those videos helped, but we took an approach. I think I took an approach that is like I'm going to see what I can do that really like there's only so much I can do online, right? Like I'm not unrealistic that like you're going to replace your coach by watching me, but I think if you couple like what I'm trying to teach with the, you know, your own training and your coach, I think it really combines into something that like it's helpful. And honestly, we did not expect that was going to like we're going to be at 30,000 subscribers right now. We put a lot more focus on the YouTube than on everything else. And you know, it's just worked out. And now it's like it just got to a point that it's like, oh man, we're so big. I got to keep feeding the beast and keep like putting out content. And it becomes a little stressful almost. But it's been a really fun journey.
No, I think that's amazing. And I think for you talking about this coaching stuff, doing the website, doing the YouTube channel, combining all of these things, have you ever really considered being a traveling coach or be a coach for a professional on tour? Or would you rather kind of just stay within the level that you're at? But I can't really say that because your level's so high, it's basically the pros.
Yeah.
So would you ever consider that?
It's difficult. I say I don't particularly love like life on tour anymore. It's like that's the traveling part of that. I actually become a little bit, ever since I kind of, you know, haven't been competing as much, kind of become a little bit of a homebody. Just like, oh, this is like the first time in my life I feel like that I'm not like traveling with, you know, 6 rackets and
no stress,
you know, 4 different pairs of shoes. And just like I enjoy like, you know, hopefully helping juniors maybe getting to college and kind of pursue that dream. I really like it, but I can't say like I wouldn't do it. You know, you know, I'm obviously with Naomi now. I don't know whatever opportunity might come out from it, and that you might not be able to say no. So I will say, I mean, I do really have such a good time doing the My Tennis HQ stuff. I'd love to, you know, be able to. I wouldn't do it full time because you still. I think I need to be on the court and learning to be able to do the tennis,
to make the content that you make.
Exactly, to make the content that you can be stagnant with your you know, with what you're learning. And so I'd like to stay, you know, doing it, but like I would love to have more time to actually just create more content. So that's what I'm hopefully transitioning to. I mean, I have ideas and, you know, maybe a tennis academy in the future, maybe like it, you know, I'm sort of like, you know, seeing what sticks. I've been, you know, running a tennis camp with one of my former UCLA teammates this summer, and that's been really fun. I've been really enjoying it. But next year, you know, I hopefully, because I'm actually like in the process of getting my green card right now, so I'm a little stuck in the US. I can't travel with Naomi outside the US. But once that's done, you know, maybe I'll be like more full time and going to every tournament. So get even more of that experience. It's been a weird 2 years at the end of the day with pandemic and everything. We barely played any tournaments, to be honest. I mean, we won 2 slams, but we barely played any tournaments. So, but we'll see. I think I think a challenge of having a pro would be interesting as you know, if you're coaching a pro. And, you know, that would be like kind of fun and kind of different. But to be honest, just sort of, you know, seeing what I really enjoy doing it right now in this, I always thought maybe college coaching was something I wanted to do, and I realized it's not really.
Okay.
It's not really something I would like to do. So, that's why I'm trying to do a lot of things until I figure out exactly what is it that I want to do in this field.
And you tried out actually college coaching, correct? At Pepperdine and UCLA as
Yeah,
volunteer assistants, right?
yeah, yeah.
And
I did Pepperdine right after school and UCLA actually this past season.
and how would you find that different when you coach college level versus playing at the college level? Is that much big of a difference when you talk about that experience, or is it very different from being a player versus being a coach?
Uh, I'd say it's very different. I think when you're playing, you don't really realize like how much goes behind the scenes with running a team.
Mhm.
And, there's a lot of things that are just more bureaucracy than coaching. You have to like deal
Yeah.
with a lot of NCAA rules. You have to deal with university rules. There's the recruiting part. There's a lot of like 80% of the job is not really coaching. It's just doing other stuff, managing the team, managing the players, managing like what they need. It turns out to be like a lot, obviously the coaching is really important, but like you end up having to do so much outside of it. Not that I did, I was a volunteer, but like I see the coaches and what they're going through, and I find it to be the experience as a player. It was a lot more fun. I think more rewarding that as what I tried as a coach. I liked it. I don't get me wrong. I had a good time,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, I don't really want to do or deal with like all the other stuff that comes with like being a college coach. You don't really know, you don't control your future, right? Like you're going to get an assistant coaching job. You have to move to Nebraska or Oklahoma or whatever. Like you kind of have to go through those stages. And I don't particularly like want to do it, to be honest. But you never know. I think like even, with my experience in Naomi, maybe like working with a women's team would have been like maybe like something that I would enjoy as well. But as of right now, I find it to be like the playing side was like a lot more interesting to me than the coaching side in college. So I think I'm gonna focus on all the other stuff.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And you're not gonna be able to really focus on anything until you find out what you want to do. And it seems like for you, like you said before, just throwing things at the wall and seeing if it sticks. And
that's exactly it.
And one of the things that's really sticking right now is your relationship with Osaka and her team. And how did you kind of develop that relationship or get involved? Because it's not every day that you get to be a hitting partner for one of the greatest tennis players on tour right now. Like, how did that relationship start with you?
I think it was another, like, I kind of say it was a little bit lucky. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's just one of those things. It sort of happened. It was 2019. I was kind of playing, kind of not. And I got like there was this 1 week, I got a bunch of texts and calls from like different coaches in LA. They're like, oh, like, some pro is moving to LA. They're going to look for a hitting partner. No one tell me who it was. What are you doing? Like, are you available? I was like, I'm not tied to anything. Like, just give me my number and, whatever.
Yeah.
But no one would say anything. And this was like, I think right after the US Open or something. And I, never heard from anyone for a while. And then actually a few months later, I got a text from her agent just wanting to meet up.
Yeah.
And I was like, we met up and just everything, like, it was like late. It was like November, I think. And they're like, oh, can you just do a tryout? They were bringing the new coach as well, Wim. So we both kind of came in together at the same time. And, that we were actually training at UCLA. And so December 2019, we were training and everything was working out. We got along and they were like, oh, let's go to Australia. I was like, oh, okay. I guess we're going to Australia. So we did Australia and obviously she didn't do that well in Australia that year. But as we, but then the pandemic hit and all this stuff, but it just honestly kind of worked out that way. Like I wasn't even looking for it. I was kind of content with what I was doing, but and I honestly wouldn't have done it for, I don't think, any other player. Like I wasn't looking to like move to Florida to, be, I don't know, some other girl's like hitting partner or something. It was just, she's just such a unique person, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'd gladly like take this.
Mm-hmm.
Where I wouldn't have done it if it was like, honestly, like I want to say like I don't see anyone else, because I know
Wow.
some experiences with you know, hitting partners and other players that haven't been great, and I just don't think I would have been like excited about doing it. But obviously her, she's so special,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, she's just a great person, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like it's a, you know, I think a lot of people for some reason might think is not genuine, but like she's legit that person that you see on, you know, on TV, on interviews, whatever.
Yeah.
So it just sort of worked out that way. Obviously the pandemic year was weird,
Yeah.
but I
100%.
have a great relationship, I think, with her. I think a lot of people fail to understand she's just an introverted person. She needs her time to warm up to people, and
Mm-hmm.
it's nothing to do with you. And you know, the coach and I have a great relationship when it's like, you know, has been super cool in terms of like letting me have a voice and, you know, have an
Okay.
opinion about certain things. Like I'm obviously the one hitting, I'm obviously the one feeling the ball. So we've had, you know, conversations about her game. I've had, you know, conversations like with her about her game, like in a sense of like, you know, I remember last year at the US Open, she played her first round and she was being a little sloppy, just kind of like almost like lazy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we, you know, I just sort of told the Wim, I was like, she's putting 100% in practice and then 30% in matches. Like what, like that makes no sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, tell her. I was like, oh, serious? So you know, I said something at the house afterwards, and she just sort of listened, took it in, and you know, the next day or the next match, you could tell she was on it. And so you know, she respects everyone's opinion, which is really nice. It's not like, hey, you're the hitting partner, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the coach has done that a tremendous job in, like, I think almost like seeing him as a mentor and like learning about how to develop players and stuff like that. So that's been, I think, the most, like, I'm not starstruck by being with her anymore. And I mean, it sort of goes away. It's just another day and in the office. But you know, I think the main reason I love doing it is because I learned so much about, you know, coaching and how to develop players. And I think that's a very unique opportunity that that I have, and I have to, you know, utilize it.
It's amazing because that you actually ticked off honestly half the stuff I was going to ask you a question about, because which is perfect, because for someone as a hitting partner for yourself, I mean, working with the same person and working with someone such as a high profile, I feel like the amount of pressure or the amount of just nerves, at least for myself, it's a lot to handle, especially hitting with someone that is hitting like her, and the input
Yeah.
that you have actually makes an impact on her game, and not just
Yeah.
sitting back and kind of letting her do her thing and kind of be a punching bag, you being a punching
Yeah.
bag for her practices, right?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. And I think, you know, I think there's a misconception that the hitting partner job, unless, I mean, I guess for some people, but in our situation, it's like, it's not supposed to be like, hey, just be a wall and make a lot of balls. It's like, you know, I'm putting her on the ropes. I'm putting pressure on her. I'm showing her, like, you need to do this better. Like if you slack on a ball, I'm going to hit a winner, or I'm going to, like, it's not going to be nice. And I think that the challenge, that keep challenging her, it's very important, because she's really good. She's really, her intuition on the court is really good.
Yeah.
Her decision making, she's obviously really clutch, and but like, she needs to be challenged. Otherwise, I think she almost like gets bored.
Yeah.
So during practices, that's what we do. We're challenging each other. We're having a good time. We have a great time. That's the thing. We're on the course. It's work, but it's fun. You know what I mean? You know, there are days that maybe she's tired because she does a lot of fitness, and you know, she's not super into the tennis, and you know, we'll make it a shorter day, and we understand that. And there's days that, you know, we'll you know, work the hell out of her. So and I think she embraces that challenge really well, and and the way that she's respectful, not only with the coaches, but you know, with the hitting partner, that sometimes some players are not, helps her. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm she's humble enough to take everyone's opinion, even though she has her own game, her own decisions, and being her own person. So it's a really interesting dynamic that I think most people wouldn't think it is that way, but it is, and it's a great time.
It's funny because I was watching the Osaka documentary on Netflix this past week, and I was trying to catch up of what it was about, and they said your name and you're in the documentary, and I was just like, I've emailed that guy. I know him. It's just like, I
was on it for like 5 seconds.
For 5 seconds, Wim said your name. I'm like, he's there. But
yeah, it was cool. It was a cool experience to should be on Netflix for whatever 5 seconds there.
For 5 seconds.
Cool. Yeah, it was fine.
That was cool. And Karue, I really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us and talk about yourself, being a hitting partner with Naomi, everything like that. If you guys haven't checked out his channel yet, I would highly recommend it. The first person video has been unreal to watch. It's so funny, just like in your apology at the beginning of, yeah, by the way, this can get really loud and weird. So if you want to turn down the volume, I wouldn't take any offense to it. And as soon as I hit play, I'm like, I totally understand why he said turn off the volume.
Yeah, everyone says to just get the head strap. I'm like, the head strap isn't as good. I've done it before. It's too high. The chest one is too low. And the funny thing with having, it's not that difficult. People think it's really difficult doing it. It's not, because it's like a little, you just bite on it.
Yeah. It's just uncomfortable. It just looks uncomfortable.
It looks uncomfortable because people hear it, but the breathing, I'm nose breathing, which is good. I'm not breathing through my mouth.
Thank God.
It's just loud. So I'm going to I'm figuring it out, because I'm going to have another camera recording the audio, and I'm just going to overlay the audio, and it's going to be better.
Smart.
In the future. Yeah. But
smart.
It's actually really great because you have to keep your head really stable through it, and it's kind of nice. It's actually good training. It's not difficult at all, but yeah, I'm gonna, whenever I can hit. I try to do it like good players, the first person videos, and whenever I can have a couple other guys or girls to play with it, I'll do it again.
Do you think you'll ever have someone else do it as well, or no?
I mean, I don't know, maybe I hopefully I can get. I wanted to get a couple of this UCLA, USC players that are really good to do it. Maybe some guys at Carson, I've trained with, Karue, Stevie Johnson, all those guys. So maybe I can get some of them to just rally with me, and through the middle. We don't have to play points, but the rallying is already fun. We'll keep trying to do that.
Would you guys mind just putting this in your mouth for me for 5 minutes? I just can't imagine you. Hey, can you bite down for me?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Maybe she was doing that. Would be hilarious if Naomi did it.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Yeah, right. That would be awesome.
But thank you again. Definitely check him out on his Instagram. Everything, literally everything. All the links for those are down in the description below. TikTok now, he is getting. You're getting up there on TikTok now too.
I know. We're we're trying to see. I mean, it's nice because it's run and gun. I just figure it's just pull your phone out and it's quick, so doesn't hurt doing it whenever I can. But yeah, if you guys can follow us, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great. All the links to his socials are down in the description below, so make sure you guys go check it out. And I really appreciate you joining me today, man. It really was.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Take care, guys.